Quiet down now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tim Allen, and as we know, it's weird times at the moment, and we're doing this festival from home, and I'm sure you're all at home. So I wanted to give an example of how a way we can make stop motion using everyday material. This is the first time I've ever done animation by myself live. So there's a few things I'm not quite sure exactly how it will work. Experiment for all of us. First of all, I've come into my spare room. My living room has got loads of big windows, and it's wonderful on a nice sunny day like today. The problem is the sun has a nasty habit of moving. So when I'm animating, I tend to find the clouds go in front of the sun keeps moving, shadows keep changing. So I've come into a room where I put the blinds down, I've closed the door, I've used the room's natural lighting, and I'm trying to make an environment where the light will stay relatively the same. Okay, otherwise the light will keep changing every time I take a photograph, and one frame will be dark, the next frame will be light, and before you know it, it will be like there's a mad light disco going on. Right, in terms of shooting animation, most of you should have access to a mobile phone, and there's plenty of free apps for animating. I think on both iPhone and on Android, there's Stop Motion Studio, there's Animate It on Android, there's iMovie on iPhone, but you'll generally find a plethora of free animation software. I'm not actually going to use my phone today, but to give you an idea, one problem I see with animating on a mobile is that every time you touch the screen, you're basically making your whole camera move. So before you start, I'm going to start suggesting a few methods to help control things. I'm going to use one of my trusty friends. This is in pretty much every stop motion animator's toolbox. Nothing but standard blue tack. And with your phone, you can use a variety of methods. Were I to use this as my camera, I'd want to be able to keep it fairly still. So, for example, I can do something like, I can literally put some blue tack around the back of my phone to prop it up. The idea being that every time I push the screen, it's not going to move too much. But as you'll see, I'll bring the camera nice and near. Every time I try and push the phone to take a frame, I'm going to move the phone ever so slightly, which is not what we want. So another method I'd suggest, you can get a couple of sturdy books, something to prop your phone up. I've got a few that animators might recognize here. But I could take something like this, and again, using blue tack, I can put this around my phone to try and help keep the phone in one place when I start pushing it. So that's a very DIY method. Other than that, there's plenty of options available like these. You can buy these. These are mobile phone holders, which again, some of your parents may have, or if you do selfies, you might take these. So they literally will clamp and hold your phone in place. I've also got one here that I put onto, we call these a gorilla pod. They're bendy tripods. And I can put my phone in position like so. I want to make sure that it's locked in nice and tight. And if you're choosing to shoot on your phone, these cost anywhere between £5 to £20. So that's a more stable way of holding your phone in position. Okay, for the sake of today's exercise, I'm going to be not using my phone, but I'm going to be using a webcam. And this is the webcam I'm going to be using. The reason I'm doing this is so that I wanted to be able to project it onto a bigger screen so you can see the animations as I go. But the same idea, this has got a lens very similar to my mobile phone lens. This is a Logitech C920 for those techie buffs at home. And in this case, I have again taken a GorillaPod tripod, I think sometimes called an octopod, and I've put my camera on it. I've also tried to make it nice and tight. And My camera, I believe, is going to live down here. Something else I want to do is stick my camera down, but I'll come to that in a moment. The next thing, I've chosen a relatively sturdy table, and I've also gone for a table that's right next to the wall, and you'll see why now, because you could create any background you want. I'm going to use the tabletop to animate my characters. The background here is for me to stick things to. In this case, I printed out a background, something purely that I downloaded off the internet. I wanted to get a nice empty background where there's some scenery, but lots of space for the characters to do stuff. Okay, now I'm using, once again, I'm using blue tack, and I'm going to use the blue tack to stick my paper to the wall and also to the desk. Now, I'm doing something a little bit curious here. Obviously, if it's on the wall, I can't make characters stand up on it very easily. But I'm actually using this area here as a flatter area where the characters can stand. So if I bring the camera to the side here, hopefully you can see this part on the wall, this part on the floor. And I put blue tack underneath the paper. And this will be the area where my character is going to stand. So I'm actually going to stick down this area a little bit tighter, so I want my character to move around over here. Clearly, due to that little thing called gravity, the puppet can't stand on this area, but they can stand on this area. Here we go. Okay. And as you can see, my camera for shooting is right here at the front. One problem is this camera again can move around, but I'm happy with the position. In fact, I'm checking on the screen. This is my software. I'm using Zoo 3D, and you can actually see my hand in front of the camera. In fact, if I turn it round again, this is what we're looking at. My hand in front of the camera purely as a piece of paper on the wall. But as you can see, I think that looks relatively nice and professional. Okay. So with this stuck down, I'm now also going to, I mentioned about sticking things down, I also want to stick my camera down, because if my camera starts moving, then you can imagine if the camera moves every frame, it's going to look a little bit like an earthquake. As every single frame, if the whole image moves, it will look like there's a big earthquake going on. It'll be very, very difficult to watch. In the same way that the lights, I've chosen a room where the lighting I can control a bit more. I don't want lots of sunlight beaming in, because if my animation takes me 20 minutes, the sun is very likely to change in 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm checking that this camera is relatively sturdy on the floor, and also the camera is quite tight on the top. And also I've put the cable out of the way, so I'm not going to knock the cable. Right, I have my background, I have my set. I'm now ready for my character. And this is something I'm sure you might recognise. This is New Plus Plasticine, and this is the type of plasticine that's used by Aardman. It's used by most professional companies that do animation. It's slightly more solid than some plasticines. It depends how hot your living room is as to how hard you want the plasticine. But okay, my character. He's not quite finished yet, of course. So I've got, I bought myself some beads. These are pretty simple beads. There we go. Yeah, there's something not quite finished until you put a pair of eyeballs on. Much more beautiful. There he is. Now I will sit him in position. And if you have a look at the screen here. So this is him on the table. This is him in front of camera. I haven't given him a name yet, but I tend to find that all animation plasticine blobs are called Bob, so let's call him Bob. Okay. I've also taken some other plasticine, some red plasticine, and I can use the red plasticine and roll that on the floor to make sausage shapes. if you can see this. By rolling the sausage, it's the same as having a rolling pin, but I'm using my fingers a bit more delicately, getting a shape that's roughly this size, and I will curl that around. Could do with a little bit of refinement. I've got here a toothpick. We use toothpicks in stop motion all the time. But I'm doing this one-handed because I'm holding the camera with my other one. So let me get here's one I sculpted earlier. Go back into position. And I'm going to apply a little mouth. Oh, bless, he's not so happy. He wouldn't be happy if the camera falls on his face. Okay, and one more thing before I start. He's not very happy, and I imagine that's because he's out in the woods all alone, and what he needs is something to keep him warm. So luckily, we have a little campfire. There we go. I try quite hard to make sure it looks like a fire and not something else. You'll have to give me your opinion on that. Okay, I'm using animation software Zoo 3D, which is spelled ZU 3D. It doesn't cost particularly much. It's available on Mac and PC and an iPad. And okay, to begin with, let me start. I'm going to start taking frames by pushing the Enter button. I've set this to be 12 frames per second. So for 12 images I take, I've got 1 second of animation. Oh, I've also made a couple of these. These are basically my eyelids. There is exactly the same plasticine that I used to make him. But let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can do this two-handed. I've taken the same plasticine, and I took I've got to make an eyelid. Now I want to make an eyelid that will go over his eye like so, to create a little eyelid blink. To do that, I've taken the same plasticine and I've got one of the eyeballs. Now, normally, if I try and squeeze a load of plasticine over an eyeball, it's going to stick. But if I've got a little tub here of talcum powder, and this is exactly the same talcum powder you'd have for changing babies' nappies. So I've rubbed that on the bead. I'm going to rub that on the inside of the eyeball. What that does is it stops the plasticine from sticking too hard. I can then pull it off easily and put it on my character. And if we take a look here, you can see the frame where I'm now going to put try and make sure it covers up the blink, and I'll take 2 frames. I'm going to take them off, and I'll make him look at you, the audience. 1 second. I'm using a toothpick again here as well to move his eyes ever so slightly. Okay. What if I'm not able to really look at questions very easily while I'm doing this. What if I'm using a higher mode? I don't know what you mean by mode. Okay. I've accidentally knocked the fire, so I'm going to try and put the fire back in position. Not an easy thing to do, but it's something us animators do all the time. I said earlier on that you must try and blue tack down the background, blue tack down your camera. You can see I'm going through the frames here. If you don't, things are very easy to knock, like I knocked the fire just now, and I'm trying to get it back into position. Okay. I'm not expecting this to be my best Oscar-winning animation. There's only so much as I can do at once. Okay, now, Bob the Blob, he's going to need to keep a bit warmer, So he's going to, we're going to see if the fire's obviously off. So I'm going to try and get him to blow a fire. So bear with me. Let's take him down a pinch. And I'm going to, we're going to make him huff and puff. And a huff and puff, he's going to have to close his eyes. I'll scrunch up his mouth. And now he's going to have to reach up. I'm going to make him strain upwards. And at this point, I'm going to change his mouth. As if he's taking a big breath. To give you an idea, place the look on mouth to another. I'll take a couple like that. And then with a big blow. And once again, I'm going to change his mouth for a more a mouth more like he's blowing. I'm taking this off again as well. And go on, Blob, give it a big blow, big as you can. Let's pout his mouth forwards there as well. I've gone for a big, what we call a big poppy action. Poppy because I'm popping from one position to another one. And I'll tunnel out his mouth just a little bit more, as if it looks like he's pouting. And bring him back. Blow, big blow. It might even look like he's blowing it a kiss if I'm not careful. In terms of how long this takes, is a slow exercise. I'm doing a fairly rushed version right now. And when I'm on the sheep, we do 6 seconds in a day. When I've done Fantastic Mr. Fox, we do about 3 or 4 seconds in a full working day. And let's take him, let's bring him back. Love it. And when I do a Tim Burton film like Corpse Bride or Frankenweenie, we do around, would you believe, we often struggle to do 2 seconds in one day. And when I say one day, I do mean a 10-hour working day. Yeah. Some of them are today, and Sam's about 10 seconds a day. And what else? Postman Pat was about 15. Fiefing the Flower Top. We can see how not playing all of it. Okay, right. Let me move the camera back for a second. So far, I've been playing with plasticine, a bit of squash and stretch by squishing the plasticine in different shapes, and I've also been playing with replacements, like replacement eyelids and replacement mouths. I'm now going to do some special effects, and Bob the Blob has blown his fire, blown the campfire, and of course the campfire wouldn't be complete without fire. So for this, we're going to need something that you may have at home, or maybe you can ask your parents to get in specially. Quality Street. I don't actually want the Quality Street for the chocolate. All I want is for the wrapping paper to be used as fire. So you're going to have to ask a responsible adult. We do not need the chocolate. The chocolate is of no use, and I encourage you to seek advice from a sensible adult who can help you with finding a way to dispose of this unnecessary item. So please ask a parent to help you with this job. I'm sure they can think of a way. Now, I want the wrapper. The wrapper is fantastic for making a fire effect. What I'm going to do is start. Sorry, I'm choking on chocolate. I've got some little scissors, and I promise you I haven't got a cough developing. It is eating chocolate too fast. Right. So what I'm going to do is cut bits of the Quality Street wrapping paper and cut areas that look like little flames, which I can then poke into the fire, or I can even use a piece of blue tack, keep on cutting little fire shapes, and if need be I can put a little bit of blue tack at the bottom of the fire, and I can actually stick this behind the campfire like so, or I can actually place it, if you can see, I can place it somewhere in the middle, somewhere on top here, something like that. Now if I refer back to the screen, let's see what Bob the Blob's up to. Okay, now we can see our fire effect coming in. I'm going to start with a little bit of fire, take a frame, and this is where bit by bit I can start building the fire up. Obviously you want to cut shapes that have a slightly fire look to it, so I would make them a bit fatter at the bottom and a bit thicker at the top, like so. Oh, there we go. And you can either add them or you can move them just a little amount. Fire has a tendency to do fairly sudden extreme movements, so I can basically do a bit each time. A fairly nice looking effect. Also using a mixture of colour, a little bit of amber. Didn't want to knock the campfire, but that's animating a rush for you. Okay. And you can make the fire go as big and as small as you want. Doesn't have to be anything too delicate, because believe it or not, fire movement isn't too delicate. Okay, let's see how that looks. From the top. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit more, but you're getting the idea. We actually used very much this kind of technique on Isle of Dogs. It was lighting gel, but it had a very lighting gel is what you put in front of a light to make the light have a blue or orange or green light color. But it was almost identical texture to what we're doing now. And on Fantastic Mr. Fox, we actually did it with Pear's soap, which is a clear amber soap. Okay, now Bob the Blob has seen enough fire for one day, so Bob is going to have to try and put the fire out. And to do that, I'm going to start moving him again. Got to keep my fire moving. Bob can go into a blink. Now Bob is going to reach behind his back into his magic pocket, because in all animation, characters will go and they'll reach behind them. They'll put their hand behind the back of their trousers or behind their bum and reach and pick up any object they want. It's a bit of a TV trick that whenever you need to produce a prop, you reach behind your bottom into your magic pocket when you can pull something out. So let me just keep this fire. I'm having to keep the fire going. And now Bob the Blob Did I take that one? Let's take it again. Bob the Blob is going to produce something from his magic pocket. Coming as if from nowhere, it is. He's got a big he's got a big tankard. Well, you know, seeing as we're all in time of self-isolation, I think you're allowed to draw out a large tankard whenever you're feeling thirsty, mid-afternoon. Here he comes. Keep that fire going. Okay, Bob has, let's open his eyes. I'm going to give him more of a change in his mouth this time. Okay, and look, he's got a big glass of, could be water, looks a little bit like ice actually. I've got to keep that fire burning. There it is. Here comes Bob with his big tankard. You hold on to that there. And I'm going to keep him looking firmly at the fire because his attention is all on putting this fire out. Thank you. Okay, little interval. Now, as you can see, Bob had a big tankard. The tankard, by the way, I bought, it's for a doll's house. So sometimes I want little props for puppets to use. I can go on eBay, buy little doll's house items. That's made of a plastic doll's house tankard. Water. I'm well versed in stop motion water, which much of it is made out of this cling film, exactly the same stuff you'll have in the kitchen. I spent many months, years even, on Fireman Sam animating cling film water. We did loads on Isle of Dogs, on Shaun the Sheep I've animated cling film water, but I would suggest you cut it with scissors. It works better than ripping it because you get a nicer edge, and you get these lovely effects of splashes that, depending how you hold them in the light, give a really effective kind of splash water effect. So, moving back again, let's have a look at how Bob the Blob's doing. There he is. I'm literally going to be putting the cling film in the glass like so. Let's go back to the screen and take a look. Okay. Now, last time we saw Bob, he was feeling the heat from a fire that was getting out of control. So now Bob is going to have to do a hero's work and pour water on the flames. Okay, off you go, Bob. Bob, being a plasticine blob, has arms that can do all sorts of magical things. So at the moment, yeah, you keep your eyeballs in one place, please. There we go. Getting ready to douse those flames. Thank you very much, Bob. Oh, that looks good. This is going to be a splash. Note that I keep moving the flames all the time as well. Now, here comes the moment of truth, where Bob takes a step back, and I now want all these bits of cling film water that I mentioned. I'm going to put them in the glass. Where's my cling film gone? I'm going to cut a few more. Okay, so the trick to making good cling film water, it's the balance between where the cling film catches the light, all those white bits that catch the light. Oh, that'll do it. Versus all the bits that are kind of transparent. Lovely. Okay. And let's get him back slightly. I'm going to keep moving those douse those flames. Get in there. That's the, and you can see as the water starts to go over the logs, you do get. Hang on, I think I'm frame with my finger there. I did. We have a phantom finger. Okay, one little rule with stop motion is well worth trying to step back. whenever you're taking a frame. I want to avoid my shadow being in there, my fingers being in there. And that's the reason I came into a room, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's the reason I came into a room where the light doesn't change. The more I can get the lighting to be the same, the better. Okay, well, Bob, the firefighter blob. This is the water take place out. That'll give me the eye Bob doing now. Oh, he's keeping a good eye on the thing. Let's take all my flames out now. In fact, I should take the water out of the glass because it's obviously come out. Brilliant. And now I'm going to slowly reduce the amount of cling film. Take all the fire away. And as quickly as Bob produced the glass, I'm going to make him get it as well. Okay, as if the water's gone past it. The idea is that I'm washing the water into the sticks, as if the water keeps moving. Something like that. What happens is when cling film gets very wrinkled up, you get very strong white lines, like you can see that strong white outline there, and that stops looking realistic. It's much better to have, this is why I'm going to cut a new piece of cling film, and the idea is not so harsh edge, because that way it will have more, you won't see the edge of the water quite so clearly. There's something like that where it has this wet look, but you don't see the outline so much. Okay. And Bob the Blob can quickly, I'm going to make him blink while he gets rid of his glass, which will magically go back into the pocket where it came from. And that can be the last of the water. Bob is turning away from camera. His eyelids are getting a little bit clobbered. And I'll make one last turn away from camera. He's getting a bit messy. Change your mouth again for a slightly better looking one. And up he comes once more. I've lost his mouth. It's all right, I have a spare. Here's one that I made earlier. Okay, he's still waiting to see if the fire's gone, so he's not completely happy yet. He's taking a big breath and getting back to a safe distance. I'm waiting to see what happens. Okay. Now, let's play that and see how the fire and the water looks. Hello? Big blow. Fire, fire, fire. Turn it out. Right, excellent. Now, they say there's no smoke without fire. We, of course, can't have fire without some smoke. And this is an old school classic. I remember this when I was growing up. Cotton wool. It's a tried and tested stop motion smoke effect. And here we go. This is just any old standard cotton wool that you buy in the shops. You'll find that it comes out of the packet in big clumps like that. And it actually works a bit better if you start to fan it out very thinly with your fingers. You get a much nicer. There we go. The more you can try and get rid of the obvious edges, the better. But already I think you can see that gives a fairly good effect. Standard cotton wool you'd get in the shop. Now, looking at this, now one reason why I chose to have a background like this up against the wall was so that I can go back to using this, I can't make the puppet stand on this back bit, but I can use this area as somewhere I can guide smoke up, especially if I use a bit of blue tack to actually stick the smoke to. So bear with me. What I would do, if we have a look on, thank you. I'm going to take a bit of cotton wool. Let's do it so you can see it. I'm going to fan it out so it looks a bit thinner. Now I can put it in the fire. Yeah. On the logs in the middle, like so. And I'll take a couple of frames like that. Cool. Same with the fire. I want to keep this moving. There we go. And maybe add a little bit more. I'm sorry if anyone's asking questions, because there's only so much I can do at once. Who says men can't multitask, eh? Anyway. Okay, there's some smoke starting. What I'm going to do this time, as the smoke gets higher, let me get my camera in position. I'm going to transfer the smoke onto the ground with a little bit of blue tack. That was the idea of using this background where he's sitting on part of it and there's another part in the background. So if I stick it to, I'm looking at it on screen, I'm sticking it to around there, something like that. And if we look at it on screen, can you see that new bit that's appeared? I can have a little bit less here, as if it's traveling from the, if it's disappearing at the bottom and it's starting to. Let's have a little bit more. It's one of those things where you're always making little decisions about, is that a bit too much, a bit too little, and it all depends on the context of what you're doing. Something like that, that's kind of okay. Okay, let's take that. And going back to the side view. Once again, I'm going to take this same bit and I'm going to move it a little bit higher this time. And I'll also create a few other bits. So I'll have about 3 or 4 bits of cotton wool that are traveling up the screen. Let's have another one there. I think I just knocked Bob the Blob. If you knock the character, which I'm sure I've just done, and that's why I said at the beginning, stick the tripod down, stick the backdrop down. There we go. If you knock the camera, what you can do is, if you knock the character, you can use that as a new movement in its own right. Let's get rid of some of this. So I'm going to make this as a kind of relaxed movement, as if he's. There we go. I'm now going to continue moving these background parts. Up you go. Up you go. This bit can go all together, I think. Oh, that'll do it. Again, the trick with smoke is to fan out the cotton wool. Try and have these really skinny. And checking which frame I'm on. What you can see with this software Zoo 3D, and what's fantastic about it, is that I can check the previous frame, check the frame on now, and then I can push play. So I'm going through the frame, and then I'm going to the live image at the end to make sure that I'm happy with how much things have moved. Lovely. Okay. I will now relax him, and all I'm going to do is bring our smoke up and out the top of the screen. Something like that. And it's purely by the blue tack, the bottom will up the page. It's out of script. Okay, we're close. Oh, let me Let me try the smoke. Let's have one look. From the top. Here's Bob. Give it a blow. We have some fire, water, and smoke. I'm going to quickly finish things off. Bear with me. Now, let me see. I'm not sure how much animation I've done. 78 frames. Where's my maths? When I get to 100 frames, that should be 8 seconds of animation. So we've done about just over 6 seconds now. But as I said, animation takes time. And there's no easy way around that. You can use Lego characters. You can use, I don't have any Lego characters here. If you do use Lego characters, something like the blue tack is fantastic for sticking your Lego character to a tabletop like this. Blue tack's very good for holding a lot of characters up. What I would say though is if you're going to be using blue tack, do not use it on your parents' carpet. They will not thank you for it. It's very similar to putting chewing gum in your hair and you have to be cut out. So blue tack is only to be used on hard surfaces like glass tables or a wooden table like this. And once again, I chose a table that was pretty sturdy. I made sure my camera was stuck down and my background down. I made sure that generally speaking, everything was stuck down. Here we go. And let's finish with a nice big smile from the blob. I get a fresh mouth this time because the ones I've been using have got a bit tired. Plasticine has a habit of doing that. The more you manhandle it, especially with sweaty fingers and especially pretty fast, it will get squidged about quite a lot. Okay, smiley face. Thank you, Bob. Give the audience one happy look. Here we go. In terms of, I often get asked, how do you know how much to move the character? To which there's no obvious answer. The answer is always, it depends. It depends what the character's doing. There's no magic instinct. I wasn't born knowing how to animate. I had no idea. When I did a lot of art when I was younger, but the first time I tried to animate, I had no idea how much to move it. I was moving it way too fast. And my first animated walk ended up being a run because he moved so fast across the screen. It only came literally from years and years of practice. But I mean, I was never able to practice until I was 18 and I went to university. And nowadays, of course, with a webcam, a mobile phone, you can do it at home very, very easily. And as I mentioned earlier, on an iPhone and an Android, there's Stop Motion Studio. On Android, there's Animate It. I think there's iMovie on an iPhone. Many people will give me many. There's many, many different free ones you can look at. And the mobile ones don't cost much. And for those still wondering, I'm using Zoo 3D animation software, ZU 3D, which is very affordable. And it also has the ability to add credits, add titles, etc., etc. Okay, we are now here for the grand premiere. From the top, here is our shot. Oh, it's burning. Quick, put it out. Smoke. Hey, there he is. Okay, one more time. Give it a blow. Fire. Put it out. Smoke. And thank you. Okay. So that gives you a little idea what I do when I'm locked in my apartment for about 12 months, avoiding viruses. Other than that, my name's Tim Allen, and you'll find my website, timallenanimation.co.uk. Thank you.
Do you get how incredible this is?